Did Jeffrey Epstein hang himself or did somebody kill him?
Senator, I believe he hung himself in a cell in the Metropolitan Detention Center.
Are you going to release all the information about that?
Senator, we are working through that right now with the Department of Justice.
When do you think you'll have it done, Kash?
I think in the near future, sir.
Like before I die?
Senator, we've been working on that, and we're doing it in a way that protects.
Jeffrey Epstein dies in a high-security cell, and years later, one question still echoes through power halls. Was it really suicide or something else entirely? Stay with us, because what happened in that Senate room may change how you see the truth behind Jeffrey Epstein's death. Tonight, we take you inside a gripping exchange where Senator John Kennedy puts FBI Director Kash Patel on the spot, demanding answers many believe have been delayed for too long. Watch closely to understand what happens next. In a charged Senate hearing, Senator John Kennedy methodically built his case before arriving at the question that continues to haunt the public conversation. What really happened to Jeffrey Epstein? Sitting across from him was FBI Director Kash Patel, who faced a series of pointed questions not just about Epstein, but about the credibility and consistency of federal law enforcement. Kennedy began by reinforcing a core democratic principle that no one is above the law, not even judges. Referencing a Wisconsin case involving a judge accused of helping an undocumented immigrant evade federal authorities, he emphasized that equal enforcement of the law is essential to maintaining public trust. This moment matters because it sets the tone. If the law is not applied equally, the entire system begins to fracture. As you follow this, ask yourself whether accountability is truly consistent across all levels of power, and what happens when it is not. The conversation then shifted toward past controversies within the FBI, with Senator John Kennedy raising concerns about political bias among former officials. By bringing up the actions of individuals involved in the 2016 election investigations, he highlighted how personal opinions may have intersected with official duties. Kash Patel acknowledged aspects of these past findings, reinforcing that such issues had already been documented. For viewers, this is a critical learning point. Institutions are only as strong as their perceived neutrality. When bias enters the equation, even the appearance of fairness can be compromised. This segment encourages you to think deeper about institutional integrity and how past actions continue to shape present-day skepticism. Kennedy didn't stop there. He pressed Kash Patel on transparency, particularly regarding high-profile cases where information was either delayed or contested. The discussion around the handling of politically sensitive material revealed a broader issue. Who controls the flow of information, and how does that influence public perception? Patel's responses suggested ongoing efforts to manage these concerns carefully, but the exchange made one thing clear. Transparency is not just about releasing information, it is about timing, context, and trust. As a viewer, consider how delayed disclosures might influence what people believe and whether earlier clarity could prevent widespread doubt. Then came the defining moment. Kennedy leaned in and asked Kash Patel directly whether Epstein had killed himself or was killed. Patel responded that he believes Epstein died by suicide in his cell. But the significance of this moment goes beyond the answer itself. Patel also indicated that the FBI and Department of Justice are actively reviewing information related to the case and may release more details in the near future. This is where the story becomes even more important. Epstein's death has long been surrounded by reported irregularities, from lapses in surveillance to procedural failures inside the detention facility. These details have fueled years of speculation, making the official explanation difficult for many to fully accept. What viewers should understand here is that unresolved questions, combined with past institutional controversies, create a powerful environment for doubt to grow. Kash Patel also addressed a sensitive but crucial issue, the protection of victims.
He made it clear that any release of information must be handled carefully to avoid exposing harmful or explicit material, particularly content that could re-traumatize victims. This adds a human dimension to the story that is often overlooked. Behind the headlines and theories are real people whose lives were deeply affected. Responsible disclosure must balance the public's right to know with the need to protect those individuals. As you reflect on this, think about how justice can be pursued without causing further harm, and why that balance is so difficult to achieve. What this entire exchange reveals is a broader narrative about trust, accountability, and the role of federal institutions in addressing public concern. Kennedy's line of questioning was not random. It was designed to connect past controversies with present uncertainties, ultimately leading to the unresolved questions surrounding Epstein. Kash Patel's responses, while measured, indicated that the issue is still under review and that more information could emerge. For viewers, the key takeaway is this: understanding complex issues requires more than headlines. It requires context, patience, and a willingness to question. As developments continue, the possibility of new disclosures could reshape the conversation once again. Whether those revelations confirm the current narrative or introduce new doubts, they will play a crucial role in how this case is remembered. That is why staying informed matters. Not just reacting to moments like this hearing, but following the ongoing process that shapes the final outcome.
This judge you arrested in Wisconsin, she was breaking federal law, wasn't she?
Yes, that's why we arrested her.
She was helping an illegal immigrant escape being taken into custody. Is that right?
Yes, and the field agents decided to open the case, work the case.
And as Americans, do we get to pick and choose which laws we want to follow?
We do not.
If you're a state court judge, do you get to decide you don't want to follow federal law?
No.
And if you violate federal law, you get arrested, don't you?
Yes, Senator.
That's called equal treatment under the law, isn't it?
Yes, Senator.
You remember Lisa Page and Peter Strzok, don't you?
Yes, Senator.
Mr. Strzok worked for the FBI. Mr. Strzok worked for the FBI. I think Ms. Page worked for Justice. The Inspector General found in its investigation that they hated President Trump and they really wanted Secretary Clinton to win. Is that true?
That's correct, sir.
And this would be the same same Ms. Page who sent an email to Mr. Strzok with whom she was having an affair. Trump's not ever going to become president, right? Right? And Mr. Strzok with the FBI, senior official at the FBI replied, quote, no, he won't. We'll stop it. Did I read that correctly?
You did, Senator.
Okay. Now, Ms. Page quit before she could get fired. Mr. Strzok was fired. And predictably, they filed a lawsuit because in Washington, it's easier to divorce your spouse than it is to fire a federal employee. Why did the FBI give Mr. Strzok $1.2 million and Ms. Page $800,000 to settle a lawsuit?
Senator, I do not know that settlement was reached in the prior administration.
Who made the decision?
The prior Department of Justice.
Who in the prior Department of Justice?
The settlement for that kind of case can only come from the Attorney General, which would be Attorney General Merrick Garland.
So the Attorney General decided to give Mr. Strzok $1.2 million and Ms. Page $800,000 after they were fired after actively interfering in the 2016 election. Is that right?
My understanding is that was a settlement they agreed to.
Pass me the sick bucket, please. The Hunter Biden laptop. In October of 2016, shortly before the election, the New York Post wrote a story that was widely covered talking about Mr. Hunter Biden's influence peddling scheme. based on his laptop. A couple of weeks later, Secretary of State, soon to be Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, organized a group of 51 so-called intelligence experts. Had some real rock stars on the list. Jim Clapper, John Brennan, Michael Hayden, Leon Panetta, and they said, oh, no, the story in the New York Post is not true. It's based on Russian disinformation. You remember that?
I do, Senator, as the lead investigator for Russiagate for the House Intel Committee.
Yeah. The FBI had had the laptop for 10 months, hadn't they?
They did, Senator.
So the FBI knew right before the election that it wasn't Russian disinformation, didn't they?
And that was confirmed by the Inspector General's report.
Yeah. Who at the FBI refused to let the FBI tell the American people the truth?
I don't have that name in front of me, sir.
Well, would you look?
I will, sir.
I'd like to know. I'd like a name, not a division. I'd like the name. Person with a brain and a beating heart.
Yes, sir.
Did Jeffrey Epstein hang himself or did somebody kill him?
Senator, I believe he hung himself in a cell in the Metropolitan Detention Center.
Are you going to release all the information about that?
Senator, we are working through that right now with the Department of Justice.
When do you think you'll have it done, Kash?
I think in the near future, sir.
Like before I die?
Senator, we've been working on that, and we're doing it in a way that protects victims and also doesn't put out into the ether information that is irrelevant for production of the public, such as CSAM.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Reid.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Director. As you're well aware, DOJ.
If you found this breakdown insightful, stay with us for more deep dives into the stories that matter. Share your thoughts. Do you believe Kash Patel and the FBI will release the full truth about Epstein's death, or are there still pieces missing? Join the conversation because your voice is part of how these stories continue to evolve.